Hey, what's up guys? In this one, I'm going to be showing you how to take a regular 3D printer file and try to and gonna try to there we go. Show you how to make it wearable. Let's get to it. So I've been printing for about 2 years now, and I've made helmets for myself and helmets for others. So there's been a lot of trial and error on making things fit in my head and making things fit other people's heads. And boy, has it been a journey. So here are a couple of things that I've learned on the way that I think will definitely help you on making your prints actually wearable. Okay, so one of the main things to focus on when trying to make a helmet wearable is to make sure that the entry point first is wearable. So where your head is gonna go in through, because a file, you can probably skip all the other things that I'm gonna show you. You might have my third process that I'm gonna show you there done on how to fit something on your head, but you might not have looked at the entry point. So the size might be right, but then when you go to slide it onto your head, just like this doesn't fit. This I was making as a prop, but just in case if you weren't, that's something that can definitely affect you. There was the, what was it, is the name not coming to my head? So the Venom helmet that I made for somebody had a weird kind of entry point. It was almost just like this Power Ranger one, this old kind of shape. So trying to scale that, I had the helmet a size that was wearable. That was like the first time that that I actually ran into that, where the helmet was wearable but the entry point wasn't. So I had to rescale. I had to make a different slice to make the entry point wearable and keep the helmet a pretty good size as well. So that's something that you definitely want to pay attention for, because you can make the helmet a good size. Again, this is like another prop. I wasn't making this one wearable, but you couldn't make something a bigger size, but because of that entry point, it could not be wearable. Another example here, where the helmet is a perfectly wearable size, but again, the entry point is something that's a bit too slim for your head to go through initially. So it's gonna cause an issue there. So again, with taking these tips, with taking this advice, everything will work. Everything should work. Just understand two things: entry points, and that every file, every shape is going to be different. Helmets that I actually made for a commission for somebody, and there was one big thing that I had to count for. He had an afro, so not only do I have to make the helmet wearable to his head, but I have to also account for the size of his afro as well, so that way his hair can fit into the helmet. This Iron Man helmet is a very popular helmet, so there were definitely a couple key things that helped in me acquiring the numbers and actually making this print work. I chose the Iron Man helmet to display in this video because everybody kind of does the Iron Man helmet. I think it's like the first helmet everybody makes. I showed it in the beginning of my video. That one was the older helmet. That was about 2 years ago that I made that helmet. And same with this one. Now this video, I actually have, this helmet I actually have a video for. I'll leave the link in the bio. It's the Mark 42 Iron Man helmet, where I go into a lot more detail on the slices that I made for this helmet. I show you those slices. I don't have those slices anymore. I probably have to search. I might have deleted them. But basically all I did was cut the jaw and cut the top of the head about here. But you can see that, watch that video for my thought process, which was a lot more beginnerish compared to the tools that I have now. So first things first, when I was first attempting this, what I wanted to do is find out at least the size of somebody's head. So there are plenty of different ways that you can figure this information out. First, starting off with the trusty Google. So basically what I did was I went on Google and I typed in what's the circumference of somebody's head, like the average person's head, and it pretty much said anywhere from about 6 to 7 inches would be about the average size of somebody's head. Now, with that again, he does have an afro, so I had to account for that as well. And you actually have measuring tape. Measuring tape, I think, is a big sleeper. I think everybody has that in their house. If you don't, there are a couple different measure tapes that you get from either Home Depot, if you have like a Michael's Beauty Shop or something like that, anywhere around, you can use those stores. $2-3, you get a measuring tape. You can get the measure and size of your head. And from there, what I started to do was just convert the size that I got. So if it was like 8 inches, 7 inches, I converted that into millimeters, or vice versa, millimeters to inches. So that way I can get like an average. So 297 millimeters to inches would be about 11 inches. And this is actually the size that I printed the helmet at, and it worked. Now, this was more of like a shot in the dark, but that's just one way that I was able to gather information to how I could scale something to actually fit somebody's head. Again, this didn't print all off in one shot. I did have to make cuts and weld the helmet back together. But that's just one method there. Another method, like I said, everybody on YouTube makes the Iron Man helmet. So use the information that they give you. Most people will tell you, hey, I printed this at this scale. Just like I told you, I printed this at 98%. Somebody else will say, hey, I printed it at this, I printed it at that. So you could kind of take that information that they're giving you there, find the file that they used, and print it like that. Just like anybody, I think my thought process would be the same as most people's. Once you get your first file to actually fit, and you want another file to fit, well, hey, since that one fit, why don't I just drag this file over and then try to get it to match the same numbers. Again, I always went off the y-axis, so Magneto is 265, this one's about 254. And I would try to match this just as perfect as possible. And as you can see, it's basically the same thing. So this is kind of like step 2 into the process to where I'm kind of getting into. You can kind of see like step by step how I started to work my way through 3D printing and figuring out, how can I actually get this to work, and not only work and actually get something on my head, but how to make it actually fit perfectly. If you watch the beginning of my video, you'll see the Magneto helmet. That helmet does fit, but it's a little baggy. So in making these files and making these helmets, you may run into that issue as well. But I'd rather a baggy helmet than a helmet that's kind of too small, if you get what I'm saying. So too baggy I can definitely fix. Too small, you're kind of going to have to try that again. Now, just like I was mentioning, entry points. Now the helmet, the size is the same, but look at the entry points. Of course, with these being wide oval entry bases, like there's nothing like it's really preventing your head from going in there. Like the Power Ranger helmet that I showed you, that's like a tighter oval. You don't really have to worry about that too much. But with other helmets, you might get something that's the same size. These two I took because they're pretty much the same thing, just like a dome shape with like a visor coming down. So it's pretty simple there. That's more than likely going to work. If you made the Magneto helmet and then made this Mandalorian helmet, that's going to work for you. But that's pretty much like the second step that I started to do, as I started to take files that worked for me and pretty much take, again, based off the y-axis, because it's going to be the widest point to fit over to my head. I would just use that number and convert it to the file that I was printing next and pretty much just go off of that. Another thing that I started to figure out as well is what my percentage was. So now you see this one, I have a percentage of 100, but this one, it's 104. With certain helmets, or with certain modelers, if you follow like a certain modeler, some of these modelers might have done my next process that I'm going to tell you. And most of their files are going to pretty much be the same size. So Deal3D, like I mentioned, I do have an affiliate link. I'll leave that in the video as well as in the bio as well, because that's where I use a lot of my files that I want to actually make wearable, because their file as far as helmets are all pretty much the same size. So once I started using those files and I noticed that, I started to notice that about 98% was a percentage that would fit me and fit me pretty well. Just like I mentioned, 98%. If we look, this you see I'm typing it in the X, but it's uniform scaling, so all of them are going to switch to the same thing, so don't worry about it. You see I have about 260 there, but 249 there. So again, you can do this method again as well, but noticing those differences, again, just you want to focus on, again, entry points and converting this number from millimeters to inches, just to make sure that even though there is a difference, 260 to 249, that's probably like a difference of maybe like an inch and a half or so. But you just want to make sure that that comes out to a base number that's something that's still going to fit your head. Again, I knew about 7 to 8 inches for myself would work. So again, I would convert the 260 into millimeters, from millimeters to inches, and then see if that would fit. And again, just a step-by-step process of actually finding a helmet that works and copying it right over another helmet, or two, just taking the y-axis number and just transferring that over to another helmet. So that's pretty much like the second step that I figured out on how to making something actually wearable, that you guys have all been waiting for. As you can see from the intro title, the final process that I figure out and have now is pretty much getting a 3D scale of your head. Now that might sound scary to you, might sound super expensive, might sound super time consuming. You might be like, what the heck is that? It's not as bad as it sounds. As you can see, mine didn't come out the best, but it still works. There are a couple different ways that you can do this. Again, me using Google, trying to figure things out. There are certain companies that you can go to, and they'll actually make a 3D scale of your head. I know, like, not saying that you're an NFL player or anything like that, or you can actually access that, but just tell you how accurate and that other people do use this process to make an NFL helmet, as far as like the padding, making it safe for players to wear. They actually take 3D scans of each player's head and try to configure the helmet to actually be the best fit and be the most protective and most comfortable. So there are companies that can help you out with that and actually do that for you. Again, just Google, try to see if there's somebody in your town. Second process is you could definitely check Amazon. Amazon has a couple different 3D scanners that you can purchase. These, from what I've seen, are pretty expensive. Some of them they range from anywhere from 500 to 700 bucks right off the bat. So if that's something that's in your budget, if that's something that you want, definitely go for it. But I would just say keep in mind, if you're just looking to take one scan of your head, 500 to 700 bucks might not be something that you're actually looking for. But you never know. You might buy it, just get the scan of your head, and just start scanning other things in your house and start making your own files like that. So don't get discouraged. Maybe save up if it's something that you're really looking for, and then purchase it from there. And the third method, which is what I use as a free method, is Scandy Pro. Scandy Pro, I'm not sponsored by or anything like that. It's an app that I found. You can download it on any iPhone. I think you have to have like an iPhone X. You pretty much use the front-facing camera on your phone and record your head, if if that makes sense. I'll make a video of that, so that way you can kind of get a visualization of that. It's not a hard process. You literally download the app. They give you one free scan a day, so you can scan one thing a day for free, no charge. Just kind of cool. And that's pretty much what I use to get this file. So what you do is you record your face, like I said, using your front-facing camera. If you have somebody that's there to help you, that actually helps as well, because you can actually screen pair while doing this, so that way they can see, because again, you're using the front facing camera. I'll make a video so that way you can visually see it, but you record your head. It takes a whole bunch of like mini snapshots of your head and comes up with a file for you. As you can see, my file didn't come out perfect, but there are different, like how I use Slicer, there are different softwares and apps that I could have used to pretty much make this a little bit more round or make this look a little better. But like I said, this works for me. This is what I use now to make my helmets, and it was pretty much a one-shot thing. Again, I can keep doing this once a day, or I think it's like $5 to actually have the app. But again, I just need one scan of my head, and I'm good. I don't really need any other scans. So just using this, as you can already tell, all I have to do is just pretty much move the helmet to my head. I'm trying to move my head down a little. You can see it even got my like gold tee. Like, that's how good the thing works, and it's a free app. Make sure over the back is good and over the top is good, and that's pretty much a good fit there. I can rotate it. Make sure it's square to my face. I just want to make sure like none of my head is popping out. Boom. And as you can see, that's going to show me that it's going to cut off at my beard. My ears are going to have enough space. My head has enough space. I can even come down here, look at the back of the head. Now again, the back of my head didn't come out in the scan. But again, if I made it too big based off of that, it wouldn't be a bad thing. And like I said, 98%, as you can see, is pretty much the scale size for myself. So again, through attaining all that knowledge and doing this scan, I still found out 98%. It's pretty much going to be my number. If I bring it down to about 95, still kind of fits. Maybe just like a little bit more snug, but as you can see with this file here, there's no more guesswork as far as like files for myself. I just take a file, put it over my head, and voila. Alright, so I hope that video helped you guys out, and actually what kind of process that you actually want to use to finding out how to make something fit and make it fit pretty snug. Again, the main things that you want to focus on is head entry. Like I said, as you can see for this one, where my head goes in is a pretty big space. Secondly is you want to find your percentage. So like I said, through using DO3D, where actually this file came from, I was able to find out what percentage and what number would actually fit my head and convert that over. And thirdly, if something works, try it again. Just have fun with it. This process may take a couple times. You may have to do it a couple times to figure it out. You may have to do it a couple times to find your own method, to find your own number. Have fun with it. It's 3D printing. Don't take it too seriously. And finally, as always, if you like this video or any of my past videos or want to see some of my upcoming builds, such as so, definitely hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and then hit that bell notification so that way you know exactly when I'm posting and stay updated. Besides that, I'm out.